I'm live. If I don't know if this lets me pop off screen. Hopefully it does. Hopefully it does. Welcome, live stream. Doing some live. Looks like X will not let me on their live stream. So let me see if I can put this on a different live somewhere else. I'm on several different live streams. So let me see if I can go live somewhere else. It does not look like it. Let me see if I can go live on Facebook. I'm doing some astrology tonight, and I'm having kind of a multi-stream. I'm using StreamYard, but I can't multi-stream on every platform right now. So bear with me for those. I'm still live. Astrology and Tarot, and I'm looking at that chart. And for those who have ASMR, this is a good ASMR moment. Just getting this. Unfortunately, I cannot go live on X. So let me see if it'll let me do it on the other one. Enter studio. This is me. Go live. If not, go live. Okay, so if you're on YouTube or on StreamYard, I'm on a couple of different spaces and places. And so intuitively, I felt like tonight I was just going to go and look at EpiPen's chart. I just felt really called to do it. I felt really called to look at the chart. I felt really called to kind of understand the chart from the perspective of whether or not, say, somebody were to come to me for just a reading, how I would approach that chart, first not knowing who they are, and second, obviously we know what this person has done, what they're part of. So I haven't even really looked at the chart. I only looked at it once, and this is over the years. So if you're on Facebook Live or if you're on YouTube Live, you're gonna see me with like granny glasses. If you're on Instagram, you're gonna see me kind of looking off to the side because I am looking at the chart. So the information for the chart, based on what we know, is this person was born January 20th, 1953 at 3:15 a.m. in Brooklyn, New York. Now, that's the chart we have, and I'm going with it. So I'm just doing a quick search of the chart. AstroSeek has the chart. Let me see if AstroSeek has the same details. And then who else has the chart? Astro Data Bank, which I don't want it in that format. So I'm looking at it in tropical astrology format. There's plenty of charts out there for him. So I'm going to use astro.com's. Same data. Actually, I might look at AstroSeek's because it seems to be a little bit more aligned with what I need to look at. Okay. So here's his chart. He is, I'm kind of switching between the charts. So JE, I'll refer to him as EpiPen, is a sun sign, and his sun sign is at 0 degrees of Aquarius, and his moon sign is at 7 degrees of Aries, and his rising sign is at 12 degrees of Capricorn. Now, um, quick overview, our sun sign in Western astrology is like what, like our I am factor, like what we're seeking to go towards in our life. And shamanic astrology represents the fuel of our chart. And then our moon sign is our emotional nature, and it is kind of what we feel the most comfortable in. So it is also like the community that raised us. The A lot of times is associated with like mothering, maternal, matriarchal energy. And then our rising sign is what people say is the mask to the world. Or if you do, which I'm learning right now, is shamanic astrology, which has been a changer for me. The rising sign is actually what somebody's supposed to be doing in their life path, life purpose. Western astrology is kind of looking at it more the face-to-face mask to the world. So there's different modalities or different ways, not modalities, but different methods we can look at for astrology. So when I look at his chart, there's a couple of things that really stick out to me. Like I'm looking at his chart as if somebody were to sit and be like, "Hey, I need help with my astrology right now, in this moment, right now in the world." And so I would look at his chart and I would be like, "Okay, well, one of the things that I notice is that this person, EpiPen, has their sun at 0 degrees Aquarius." And that's really important because in 2023, and let me just check on the date, we had kind of like a retrograde with Pluto and Aquarius, but let me get the exact dates. So Aquarius, Pluto, the sign of like the uncover, like the underworld, entered Aquarius first time in March of 2023, specifically March 23rd, 2023. And then we had kind of like this back and forth since March in 2023. And so with the back and forth, we had Pluto re-enter the sign of Capricorn June 11th of 2023, and then made the permanent way into Capricorn or into Aquarius November 19th, 2024. Pluto is in the sign of Aquarius until January 19th, 2044. This is important because the story and the files itself have been back and forth over many, many years, but have really started to make their way into like media speak, media talk since, probably before 2023. But this is an important thing to note with him being a 0 degree Aquarius sun. Now, if you're listening to this and you were also born around this date and you have a 0 degree Aquarius sun, it does not mean that you are like anything is bad. It's just kind of looking at the chart. And that's why I want to look at it first from like the perspective of if this person sat down with me, what's up? If this person sat down with me for a reading, and also kind of now that we like know fully the extent of what this person has done um and everything. So with the 0 degree sun in Aquarius, the chart is getting a conjunction of Pluto by transit. So for all of us who are experiencing Pluto in the early degrees of Aquarius, and this is this is an era change in many ways. So his son is receiving legit the change of a whole entire era in the world. And I would have considered that Pluto shift kind of a age of Aquarius energy. But we're also there's been this talk of the age of Aquarius. So I think that this is a huge unpeeling. I like to call it like unpeeling the grape. Some people will be like the onion layers, you know, And so there's a lot kind of just looking at only his sun sign. So when I dive into also his moon sign, he has his moon in the tropical third house. And the third house is about communication. And we are on the 20th of February 2026 going to have what's called a conjunction between the planet Saturn, which is structure, responsibility. But when I say structure, I also mean like bureaucratic structures, and Neptune, the great ocean energy. So the thing is, this is very, very close to his natal chart moon. It's his natal chart moon is at 7 degrees, and the conjunction is actually at 0 degrees of Aries, and it will be taking place at the very end of his tropical second house. So if I were going to read this, like the email communications and the unsurfacing that are the dissolving or things, the sediment coming to the surface with the ocean energy of Neptune. Neptune is already in the sign of Aries. Saturn has been kind of going back and forth. Saturn enters Aries in 2 days and will be there for 2 years. So with that, it is regarding, the light, the fire around third house and also second house issues. So second house is like self-esteem, but it's also physical property. So that's the other thing that I see with this chart is this is interesting that we're seeing these files uncovered and treating people as property. And the thing that really sticks out to me looking at the Saturn Neptune conjunction is it's going to even deepen as Saturn and Neptune goes along. So Saturn and Neptune go through the sign of Aries. So let me just also check because we're in a generational event here. So this is about a 14-year transit. And so as Neptune continues through Aries, most likely the sediment is going to be coming up from the sea. So I'm going into, let's see, that ascendant. So he has his ascendant square his moon, and he also has Chiron and Mercury right in the zone of his ascendant. His Mercury is at 21 degrees of Capricorn. His Chiron is at 15 degrees of Capricorn. And then his rising sign is at 12 degrees of Capricorn. Now, this is the part that I actually saw somebody talking about on TikTok and said it was a Capricorn stellium. However you want to put it, it would be a wide stellium, meaning more than two planets are aligned together. I don't really consider it a stellium, but what I do consider it is he has a lot of Capricorn planets in his first house, or in Chiron, the wounded healer, is actually an asteroid. It is not technically a planet, but it is saying that a lot of his wounding is around power. A lot of his wounding is around the structures, the bureaucratic structures. So if I were to sit back and have somebody, this is the part where he has Uranus in the seventh house, and his Uranus is directly opposite his Chiron. And that's something that really sticks out to me because his Uranus is at 15 degrees of Cancer. It is retrograde natally, and his Chiron is at 15 degrees of Capricorn. So it's like an exact kind of holding that first house with all the Capricorn, seventh house Uranus. That's the part that's concerning to me. That's the part where I go, was he really in control of anything? Especially because he is a boomer and something popped out. All my connections popped out. Innovation. My connection did just stop, so hopefully it's still recording. Um, He is a boomer generation, so he does have, like, Pluto in the sign of Leo, and the nodes are really key to this as well. So the north and south node, which is like our karmic points, are very much a part of this whole story and structure. So his north node is in Aquarius, his south node is in Leo, his Pluto is at 22 degrees of Leo, his south node is at 13 degrees of Leo. I wouldn't consider this a conjunction at all. I would consider this a nod to the generation. And so when I look at him, like, his what I like how I went right into, like, what he did as opposed to, like, if this were to be somebody that were to be across the table from me, I would say, like, this is somebody who seeks a lot of knowledge, in their life. I would say this is somebody he has something in his chart as well that sticks out to me called a Venus-Mars conjunction, and they are exactly pretty much within a degree. So Venus is at 16 degrees of Pisces and Mars is at 15 degrees of Pisces. They are in his tropical astrology second house. Now, if somebody were to come to me and they needed a reading, I would be like, that's a lovely connection. It is trine that Uranus in his seventh house across from his ascendant. And it's in a lovely position to his ascendant and his Mercury and his Chiron. So if somebody was like, "Hey, I'm going through like a lot of tough times, et cetera," like this chart went through a really, really rough time 2015, 2016, 2017, all the way through 2020, 2021, all the way into when Pluto first left the sign of Capricorn and entered Aquarius. This chart is growing, which I think is very interesting. So this is his natal chart. Like the data on this chart is his absolute natal chart. This chart is all wrapped up in what's happening right now. And it is very, very lit up in so many different places. And what I like to say is like it's receiving it's receiving pings, it's receiving conversations from different planets in different ways. Even he has his Saturn at the sun in the sign of Libra. He has his Neptune, where are you Neptune? In the sign of Libra. And they are, I would consider a conjunction. They are a conjunction in the sign of Libra, and they are square to, let's see, what is that? To his Mercury. So it's not an easy chart. It's kind of it's like I would say it's in service to. And the thing that I heard on TikTok was somebody was like, "This is somebody who's power hungry. This is somebody," and that is somewhat true. Um, I'm just looking at his Jupiter. Just make sure. So it's somewhat true. I'm just making sure everything's still recording. Um, that with all the Capricorn in his first house, and it is square, and but his Saturn's in Libra, and so anytime we see, like, a prominent Capricorn placement, you wanna look at their Saturn. So his Saturn is actually in a balance sign or trying to balance in the sign of Libra with his Neptune. So he does kind of have the energy of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction built in. So it's very interesting that we're gonna have this alignment coming up next week, but part of his story is not done. If he's still alive, for example, this would be a transit that would surface that kind of information. So I would say dates-wise on this, where I would wanna look towards is his nodes, because his nodes are right up in the eclipse story, and his chart is going to have a nodal return. but the north and south node don't meet his north and south node. We're not even gonna have that for a year from now, or, like, almost a year from now, maybe a little less, but they're right in the middle of Aquarius, so I'm not gonna give exact dates on that because there's other parts of his chart that are lit up, but I would be very interested to see what happens when the nodes get towards the middle of Aquarius and Leo. So they're gonna start out anytime nodes change, they're at 29 degrees of the next sign. So we've got a ways to go, and those north and south nodes don't shift over until July of this year. And then, is there anything I'm missing looking at this chart? I'm gonna ask my cards. I'm just gonna shuffle my cards and see. The Great Central Sun. Let me see if I'm on here. The Great Central Sun. So this is the King of Cups. It also just looks like a sun. So it just looks like a sun. So let me look over at his Aquarius sun for a second and see what I feel. Okay, so his sun in Aquarius. Why am I other than Pluto, what is going on that I feel with this sun? As an intuitive reader, I'm going to start to flip towards we know who this person is. So it's more as like I know the Sage of Activations. So the King of Swords. Okay. It could be a card for Aquarius because the King of Swords is the King of Air, and Aquarius is an air sign. But there's two kings on the table at the same time. So let me just ask like what these kings have in here. The Emperor. So obviously Trump is part of it. Leo. And by the way, like if Trump were not the president and JD Vance were to become the president, they have a very similar chart structure. So part of I think what this current situation is going to be is we might get some signs during Leo season. What also comes to mind, and like I'm a huge proponent of the Bledsoe family, is their prediction with the fixed royal star of Regulus, which they're saying is around the spring solstice, or spring equinox, excuse me. Around the spring equinox. But there's this energy of unity here that I feel that there's like an actual unity or infinity. Okay, what else do I feel when I look at this? So I'm just like looking at the Aquarius sun, and then I'm pulling cards at the sun sign. The Radiant Feminine, I'm pulling kings and queens. So this is the Queen of Wands. So that could be Aries season. The astrological new year, we're going into the lunar new year next week on the 17th, which is also an eclipse this year, which is very fancy and powerful. The purple lotus sticks out here. Let me just go. Okay, I feel don't look at the chart, just pull for the energy. Pulling for the energy. It says, let me see, autonomous initiator paladin. So that's Knight of Wands. This is a key representative. So this is a member of Congress. It feels like a senator. I do think that this does tie in. I don't know. I'm getting a weird one here. Hold on. Let me see what the next card is. Dang. I do think this does tie into the ocean because of Neptune. I do think there's going to be a key thing related to the UAPs, the drones, the plasmoids, plasma, orbs. and the ocean that they were saying like it's about the bases, but it's not about the bases, it's about unity. I think this Knight of Wands is a junior senator in the United States Senate. I think a prominent committee hearing could happen around this time. Let me go into dates. This has to do with, I guess, him. This is just feelings that I'm receiving. So March. Okay, let me take us through. I'll be doing more live streams because we're gonna have. I'm gonna be doing a lot of live streams, especially regarding like key dates. But these are just the dates that I'm feeling, and I'm being led to like right before the spring equinox. We have on the 18th of March a new moon in Pisces. That's at the end degrees of Pisces in his chart. That'll be in that second house. And I just see it's going to ignite a past transit. So I think it's going to be, because it's going to be sitting there at something called the anaretic degree. So in astrology, anaretic degrees are like 29. They're the last degrees of a sign. And it's very potent energy. And it's like, I was talking today, I did a reading and I was talking about how in a lot of our transits, especially eclipses, we're in like a crescendo period. And it just happens to be that we're in a crescendo period right now that's going to lead us into mid March. And part of this eclipse series also is keyed into another, or it's, coincides with a Mercury retrograde. Mercury doesn't go direct until the 20th of March. So I think between the 18th and 20th of March, we might have, I don't know if there's going to be something related to a congressional hearing. I don't know if something is going to, there's other key pieces of information. There's another person. There's something behind him. He's not the guy. At least where I'm looking in the chart is like when I looked at his ascendant in Capricorn, and people are like, oh, he's power hungry, all the Capricorn. When I look at the Uranus in the sign of Cancer in his 7th house, it's like there's a director of somebody's directing. Somebody's putting a direction. And when I saw that, I saw the ocean. And I saw that there's somebody who's gonna like bring that information to light. And that's through these cards here. Okay. Because with the Uranus opposite his ascendant, it's in the house of other people. And it's the house of sudden, or it's the planet of sudden disruption. And because his sun is in Aquarius, it is ruled by Uranus and Saturn. And his Saturn and Neptune are square to his Uranus, which is generational pretty much. But in this capacity, because his ascendant, how he acted in the public, is connected to all of this. He was not the one pulling the strings. He is the one taking the fall. Initiate of activations. I think that's Page of Swords. Initiate of activations. What a card. I see it as like angelic. There's a heart as like a face. I also see like it's almost like a totem, not appropriating, but like how a traditional totem, I saw a wolf right here or a bear. It almost feels like whatever this is, the spiritual connection to this is really potent here, and it does involve the ocean. It's not like it just was on it, like there's a reason the ocean was involved. Return of the Mother Tree, which I've pulled on every reading, which is the 10 of Wands. So it's like keep putting grit into this, like know that you put a lot of, like, as a collective, there's a lot of collective work around this. It's righteous work. Priestess of Portals. So the Queen of Cups, compassion work led from the heart. And the Vine, I just hear like heard it through the grapevine. So there might be something that was like rumored. Let's see what that was about. This one flew out, and that's 2 cards that flew out. 8 of Cups, the roots. Interesting. I have roots and vines. I know what these symbols could be interpreted as, but remember, symbols can be infiltrated as well. But I see this as the universe, right? The universal symbol. 8 of Cups, and then this one that popped out, the 10 of Swords. He wasn't the guy. There's somebody else here. So this card is what I want to go back to. There's more to this story. It's almost like it's going to reveal like what the thing was. What was the thing, right? So it's 1, 2, 3. 2 of Cups, Stargate. What is the thing? What is the infiltrated? What is the understanding? This is a tough one because it's like I'm fighting a brick wall. That's what it feels like. Gold of Earth. Now, she is the 6 of Wands. So take that healing in. So the 6 of Wands, I want to make sure, is about victory after battle. So I just want to say that there might be something about the origins of the universe that is revealed through this, and the ocean is involved. And I always love this card because she has a bee at the top. So it is the origin of everything. I'm feeling like when I pulled this card, where's the card? This one. We're going to have a rewrite to our origin story. We're going to have a rewrite to our origin story. There might be artifacts found in the Mississippi Delta eventually. I have to cover this up for nudity. But this was in my last reading. Temperance, be very patient. So there's, when I see like energy related to either like lions, lioness, I feel like this is jaguar energy. The connection on the grid lines of the planet are shifting. So part of that is going to be part of the story. I'm trying to find the card, this one. The frequency of the grid lines. And I got that from looking at this chart. And I think that's why that 0 degree Aquarius is so important because if somebody was born with this, they have the choice to use it for good or use it for what this person utilized it for. Because a 0-degree Aquarius isn't like a 0-degree cardinal sign, but I think in this case, it was like a foreshadowing based on the movement of, or the entrance of Pluto into the sign of Aquarius. Let me just ask, why him? Why this guy? The macrocosm. 2 of Pentacles. Sometimes people have a natural order to their energy. And obviously, it's not just this one person, but for whatever reason, this is this person's purpose, right? Everybody has their purpose that they were born into. I feel like I'm done with cards. Like, I feel like once I pulled this, it was like, nope, that's the message. So, as technical and as weird as this reading was, I think this is where I'm supposed to leave it for now, is looking at this from a zoomed out perspective. And that's where I'm at today. So if you like my readings, you're welcome. I don't like it to not have a conclusion, but I think this is where it has to be today. Like, my cards are like, we're done here. We're good. Done for the day. So that's where I'm at with them. So I will be back on a live stream. And I don't know. I'm going to keep continuing going live on Instagram and wherever I am at over here. I'm on YouTube. I was trying to get to go to X, but it looks like it's going to Facebook instead. And peace. Bye. Bye. Thanks for hanging in, YouTube.